The Chernobyl disaster was a catastrophic nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in northern Ukraine, which was then part of the Soviet Union. The disaster is considered to be the worst nuclear power plant accident in history, both in terms of the immediate death toll and the long-term health effects on the local population and environment. The disaster occurred during a routine safety test at reactor number 4, when a sudden power surge caused an explosion and a fire. The explosion released a large amount of radioactive material into the atmosphere, which was carried by the wind over a large area of Europe. The immediate blast killed 2 workers, and a further 28 people died in the weeks and months following the accident due to acute radiation sickness. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant had 4 nuclear reactors, all of which were RBMK-1000 type reactors. The disaster at Chernobyl involved reactor number 4, while reactors 1, 2, and 3 continued to operate for several years after the accident. Reactor 1 at Chernobyl began operation in 1977 and was shut down in 1996. It had been scheduled for decommissioning prior to the disaster, but the plans were delayed due to a shortage of electricity in the Soviet Union. During its years of operation, Reactor 1 generated significant amounts of electricity and provided power to many communities in Ukraine and neighboring countries. However, as with all nuclear reactors, it also produced radioactive waste and posed a potential risk to the environment and public health. After Reactor 1 was finally shut down in 1996, the process of decommissioning and dismantling the reactor began. This involved removing the fuel, decontaminating the reactor and associated systems, and dismantling the building and equipment. The decommissioning process was completed in 2008, and the reactor site is now in a state of safe storage, with the reactor and associated buildings being monitored for radiation and other hazards. The Reactor 2. Reactor 2 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant began operation in 1978 and was scheduled to operate until the year 2000. However, on January 4, 1991, a fire broke out in the turbine hall of the reactor, causing damage to the electrical equipment and resulting in a loss of power to the reactor. The reactor's emergency cooling system was activated, and the reactor was shut down safely. However, the damage to the electrical equipment and the power grid made it impossible to restart the reactor. It was therefore decided to shut down Reactor 2 permanently. Reactor 3 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant began operation in 1981, several years after Reactors 1 and 2, and continued to operate for many years after the disaster at Reactor 4. It was shut down in 2000 as part of the plan to decommission the entire power plant. After the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, Reactor 3 was briefly shut down for safety checks and improvements to its design. However, it was restarted and continued to operate until 2000, when it was finally shut down as part of the process of decommissioning the entire power plant. The main reactor for which led to disaster. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was the site of the disaster on April 26, 1986. It was shut down immediately after the accident due to the extensive damage caused by the explosion and subsequent fire. The reactor remained partially exposed and highly radioactive, posing a significant risk to public health and the environment. The number 4 RBMK reactor at the nuclear power plant at Chernobyl, Ukraine, went out of control during a test at low power, leading to an explosion and fire that demolished the reactor building and released large amounts of radiation into the atmosphere. Safety measures were ignored. The uranium fuel in the reactor overheated and melted through the protective barriers. RBMK reactors do not have what is known as a containment structure, a concrete and steel dome over the reactor itself designed to keep radiation inside the plant in the event of such an accident. Consequently, radioactive elements including plutonium, iodine, strontium and cesium were scattered over a wide area. In addition, the graphite blocks used as a moderating material in the RBMK caught fire at high temperature as air entered the reactor core, which contributed to emission of radioactive materials into the environment. Some 350,000 people were evacuated as a result of the accident, but resettlement of areas from which people were relocated is ongoing. On February 24, Ukraine informed the International Atomic Energy Agency that Russian forces had taken control of all facilities at Chernobyl. On March 9, the Chernobyl nuclear plant was disconnected from the electricity grid. Thank you for watching. Hope you will share, subscribe, and like my video.